I fell in love with the one person I was never supposed to fall for. My therapist. The man who's been counseling me and my husband for 6 months, trying to save our marriage. The man who knows every secret, every fear, every broken piece of both of us. And now I'm sitting in his office, about to confess feelings that could destroy 3 lives. My name is Olivia. I'm 31 years old. And this is the story of how trying to fix my marriage led me to the most impossible love of my life. But what I discovered in the end, what my therapist was hiding from both of us, changed everything. And somehow, against all odds, led to the happiness I never thought possible. Let me start at the beginning, because you need to understand how someone ends up falling for their therapist, how someone crosses that line, how everything got so complicated. My marriage to David was dying. That's the simple truth. We'd been together for 8 years, married for 5. High school sweethearts who got married too young and grew into different people. David was my first boyfriend, my first everything. We were 18 when we started dating, 23 when we got married. I thought I knew what love was. I thought we'd be together forever. But by 28, we were strangers living in the same house. David worked constantly. Investment banking, long hours, high stress. He'd come home exhausted, barely able to hold a conversation. I worked in graphic design, freelance, mostly from home. I felt invisible, lonely, like I was living with a roommate who occasionally kissed me goodnight out of obligation. We hadn't had sex in 4 months, maybe longer. I'd stopped counting. We didn't fight. Fighting requires caring enough to argue. We just existed. Parallel lives that occasionally intersected over dinner or weekend errands. My best friend Maya finally confronted me. "You're miserable, Liv. You know you're miserable, right? When was the last time David made you laugh? When was the last time you two actually talked about something real?" She was right. But what was I supposed to do? Divorce him because we grew apart? Because life got boring? That felt like giving up. So I suggested couples therapy. David was resistant at first. "We don't need therapy. We just need more time together. We need to try harder." But I pushed. And eventually, he agreed. We found Dr. Alexander Chen through our insurance. His reviews were incredible. Specializes in couples therapy, communication issues, intimacy problems. Perfect for us. Our first session was awkward. David and I sat on opposite ends of the couch in Dr. Chen's office. The office itself was calming. Soft lighting, comfortable furniture, bookshelves filled with psychology texts and novels, a desk in the corner with a photo I couldn't quite see. Dr. Chen walked in, and I felt something shift. He was younger than I expected. Maybe late 30s. Asian American, glasses, kind eyes, professional but warm. He had this presence that immediately made me feel safe, seen, like he actually cared. "Thank you both for coming," he said, sitting across from us. "I know this isn't easy. Taking the step to come to therapy means you both want to work on things. That's important. That's the foundation we'll build on." We spent that first session just talking about our history, how we met, what attracted us to each other. When things started to change, Dr. Chen listened without judgment, asked thoughtful questions, made us feel heard. Over the next few months, we had weekly sessions, sometimes together, sometimes individual sessions when Dr. Chen thought we needed to work through personal issues separately. Those individual sessions were when things started to shift for me. Sitting alone with Dr. Chen, I could be completely honest in a way I couldn't with David present. I told him about my loneliness, my feeling of being invisible, my fear that I'd wasted my 20s on someone I was no longer compatible with, my guilt about feeling that way, my confusion about whether to stay or go. Dr. Chen never told me what to do. That's not what therapists do. But he asked questions that made me think, made me examine my feelings, made me understand myself better. "Tell me about the last time you felt truly happy," he asked during one individual session. I thought about it, really thought about it. Honestly, right now, in these sessions, talking to you, being heard, being seen as a whole person, not just David's wife or someone's employee, just me. That's significant, Olivia. You feel most yourself in this therapeutic space. What does that tell you about your life outside this room? That I'm not living authentically? That I'm performing a role instead of being myself? And how does that make you feel? Trapped, sad, angry at myself for letting it happen. Those feelings are valid and important to acknowledge. But Olivia, remember that growth is possible. Change is possible. You're not stuck unless you choose to be. Those sessions became the highlight of my week. I'd count down the days until Tuesday at 3 p.m. I'd think about what I wanted to talk about, what I wanted to share, what questions I had. And I started to realize I was thinking about Dr. Chen, Alex, as he'd told me to call him during individual sessions, thinking about him more than I should. At first, I told myself it was normal. Patients develop attachments to therapists. It's called transference. It doesn't mean anything. It's just part of the process. But the feelings grew, intensified, became more than just therapeutic attachment. I started noticing things about him. The way he pushed his glasses up when he was thinking. The way he leaned forward when I said something particularly vulnerable. The small smile he'd give when I made a joke. The care in his eyes when I cried. The sound of his voice, calm and steady, like an anchor in my chaotic life. I was falling for him, actually falling for my therapist. And I knew it was wrong, knew it was inappropriate, knew it could never happen. But I couldn't stop the feelings, couldn't turn them off. During couples sessions, I'd watch Alex interact with David, watch him try to help us communicate better. And I'd feel guilty, because I was sitting there, supposedly trying to save my marriage, while developing feelings for the man trying to help us save it. David remained oblivious. He was actually getting better, opening up more, making more effort. The therapy was working for him. He'd come home and try to implement what we'd talked about. More quality time, better communication, small gestures of affection. But for me, every effort David made just highlighted what was missing. The connection I felt with Alex, I didn't feel with David. The way Alex understood me, David never had. The ease of talking to Alex versus the stilted conversations with David. It wasn't fair to David, but I couldn't ignore the truth. About 4 months into therapy, something changed. During an individual session, I was talking about feeling guilty about not being more grateful for David's efforts, and Alex said something that shifted everything. "Olivia, gratitude and love are not the same thing. You can appreciate someone's efforts while acknowledging they're not enough. You can care about someone while recognizing you're not compatible. Don't confuse obligation with love. But how do I know the difference? How do I know if what I'm feeling is real dissatisfaction or just fear of commitment? Or maybe I'm just broken. Maybe I expect too much. You're not broken." Alex's voice was firm, gentle but firm. "You're someone who knows what she needs and isn't getting it. That's not broken. That's self-aware." "What do I need?" I asked, because I honestly don't know anymore. Alex was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I think you need to feel seen, understood, connected on a deeper level. You need intellectual and emotional intimacy, not just companionship. You need passion, real passion, not just comfort." "Is that too much to ask for?" "No." He looked directly at me. "It's not too much. It's everything, and you deserve it." The way he said it, the intensity in his eyes, the moment stretched between us. And I knew he felt something too. Maybe not love, maybe just recognition of the connection. but something. I left that session shaken, because either I was imagining things, or my therapist had just told me I deserved passion, had looked at me in a way that felt like more than professional concern, had created a moment that felt charged with possibility. The next couples session was torture. Sitting there with David, trying to engage in the exercises Alex gave us, while all I could think about was that moment. That look. Those words. You deserve it. David noticed I was distracted. You okay? He whispered while Alex was looking at his notes. Fine. Just tired. But I wasn't fine. I was spiraling. Falling deeper into feelings I couldn't control. Feelings for a man who was supposed to be helping me, not becoming the problem. After that session, as David went to the restroom before we left, I found myself alone with Alex for a moment. He was cleaning up his notes. I should have just left. Should have walked out. Instead, I spoke. Alex, can I ask you something? Of course, he said, looking up. Do you ever... I paused, not sure how to ask. Do you ever feel like therapy creates a false sense of intimacy? Like patients confuse the therapeutic relationship with something more? Transference is common, he said carefully. It's a recognized phenomenon. Patients can develop feelings for therapists because of the vulnerability and trust in the therapeutic relationship. It's not real. It's a projection. What if it feels real? Feelings always feel real. That doesn't mean they're based in reality. He was using his professional voice, keeping boundaries. But something in his eyes, a flicker of something, suggested this conversation was affecting him too. David came back before I could respond, and we left. But that conversation haunted me for days, because Alex had answered professionally, appropriately, but had avoided my actual question. Had he felt it? Or was I truly just projecting? 2 weeks later, during another individual session, I decided to be honest. Completely honest. Even if it ended everything. Even if it made things impossibly awkward. I couldn't keep living in this confusion. Alex, I need to tell you something. And it might make you uncomfortable. It might make continuing therapy impossible. But I can't keep pretending. Okay, he said slowly. I'm listening. I think I'm developing feelings for you. Real feelings. Not transference. Not projection. Actual feelings. And I know that's inappropriate. I know it's probably common, and you deal with it all the time. I know it means I should probably find a new therapist. But I needed you to know. I needed to be honest. Silence. Heavy, loaded silence. Alex took off his glasses, rubbed his face, put them back on. Looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. Olivia, he finally said, this is complicated. I know. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything. No, let me finish. This is complicated because... He paused, took a breath. Because you're not wrong about what you're feeling. And that's the problem. What do you mean? I mean that the connection you feel, it's not one-sided. It's not just transference. It's real. And that's why this is complicated. Because I'm your therapist. Because you're married. Because everything about this is unethical and wrong and impossible. My heart was racing. You feel it too? Yes. God help me? Yes. I've tried to ignore it. Tried to maintain professional boundaries. Tried to focus on helping you and David. But Olivia, every session with you is torture. Watching you struggle. Wanting to help you in ways I shouldn't. Feeling things I have no right to feel. What do? I have to refer you to another therapist. Both of you. I can't continue treating you when I have feelings that compromise my objectivity. This ends today. It has to. And then what? We just never see each other again? That's what's supposed to happen. That's the ethical thing. You work through your marriage with a new therapist. I work through my inappropriate feelings with my own therapist. We move on with our lives. Is that what you want? No. Alex's voice broke slightly. It's not what I want at all. But it's what has to happen. Before I could respond, before I could process what was happening, Alex stood up. I'm sorry, Olivia. I'll send you referrals to other excellent therapists. I'll handle the transition professionally. But we can't have any more sessions. Not individual, not couples. This has to end now. He walked out of his own office, left me sitting there, stunned and heartbroken. Because he'd just confirmed my feelings weren't imaginary. The connection was real, and it was ending before it could even begin. I sat there for 10 minutes before I could move, before I could process, before I could face going home to David and pretending everything was normal, before I could face the reality that the one person who made me feel alive was walking away because it was the right thing to do. I drove home in a daze. David wasn't there yet. Wouldn't be for hours. I sat on our couch in our house that didn't feel like home and cried. Cried for the marriage that was already over. Cried for the feelings I couldn't have. Cried for the impossible situation that had no good solution. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. It's Alex. I shouldn't be texting you. I know I shouldn't. But I need you to know something. What I feel for you is real. And if circumstances were different, if you weren't married, if I wasn't your therapist, I would tell you that you're extraordinary, that talking to you is the best part of my week, that I think about you constantly. But circumstances aren't different, so this is goodbye. I hope you find happiness. You deserve it. You deserve everything. I read that text 20 times, memorized every word, felt my heart break and soar simultaneously. Because he felt it too. It was real, but it was ending. Because it had to. Because it was impossible. 2 days later, I got a call from Alex's office. His assistant said Dr. Chen had referred us to Dr. Patricia Morrison. Excellent therapist. Similar approach. She had openings on Thursdays at 4 p.m. if that worked for us. I said yes. Made the appointment. Told David that Alex thought we'd benefit from a fresh perspective. David shrugged. Said okay. As long as we're still working on things. We had one session with Dr. Morrison. She was fine. Professional. Competent. But she wasn't Alex. And sitting there, trying to engage, all I could think about was him. What he was doing. If he was thinking about me. If he regretted walking away. After that session, I made a decision. I told David we needed to talk. Really talk. About everything. About us. About whether we were staying together because we loved each other, or because we were scared to leave. David, I said that night after dinner, I don't think I'm in love with you anymore. I don't think I have been for a long time. And I don't think you're in love with me either. I think we're comfortable. Safe. But that's not enough. Not for either of us. David was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I know. I've known for a while. I just didn't want to admit it. Because if I admitted it, then I'd have to face that we failed. We didn't fail. We just grew apart. It happens. It's nobody's fault. What do we do now? I think we separate. Try living apart for a while. See how we feel. If we miss each other. If we want to work on it. Or if we realize we're happier apart. David nodded slowly. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Maybe you're right. We separated 2 weeks later. David moved into a corporate apartment his company provided. I stayed in the house. We agreed to a trial separation. 6 months. See where we were after that. No lawyers yet. No official divorce papers. Just space. The first month was lonely. The house felt empty. But not in a sad way. In a peaceful way. like I could finally breathe, like I didn't have to perform being happy anymore. I could just be. I thought about Alex constantly, wondered if I should reach out, wondered if enough time had passed, wondered if my separation changed anything. But I didn't, because he'd made it clear. It had to end. It was impossible. Then, 2 months after our separation, I ran into him, completely by accident, at a bookstore. I was browsing the fiction section. He was 2 aisles over in psychology. I saw him before he saw me, and my heart stopped, just stopped. Because seeing him felt like coming home, like finding something I'd lost. I could have left. Should have left, but I didn't. Instead, I walked over, said his name, Alex. He turned, and the look on his face. Surprise, joy, conflict, everything. Olivia. Hi, how are you? I'm good. David and I separated. We're figuring things out but living apart now. I heard. Dr. Morrison mentioned it. I'm sorry. Don't be. It's the right thing. It's what needed to happen. I paused. I miss you. I miss our sessions. I miss talking to you. Olivia, don't. Please. This is still complicated. You're still technically married. I was still your therapist. The ethics haven't changed. What if I don't care about ethics? What if I just care about what's real? You should care. Because I care. Because I won't be the reason your marriage ended. I won't be that person. You're not the reason. My marriage ended because it was already dead. You just helped me see that. Alex looked torn, conflicted, like he wanted to reach for me but couldn't let himself. I have to go, he finally said. Take care of yourself, Olivia. I mean that. He walked away. Again. And I stood there, again, watching him leave. Again. But this time, I wasn't going to let it end there. This time, I was going to fight for what I wanted. Because life is too short to let fear and rules stop you from being happy. And I was done being afraid. Wait, stop. I need you to tell me something right now. Do you think what I'm feeling is wrong? Do you think I should have walked away the moment I realized I had feelings for my therapist? Or do you think some connections are too real to ignore, even when they break all the rules? Drop your answer in the comments because I genuinely need to know what you think. And please hit that subscribe button if you want to know what happens next. Because the decision I make, and what I discover about Alex, will change everything. I promise you, this story doesn't go where you think it's going. I gave myself a month to think. A month to be sure about what I wanted. A month to make sure this wasn't just rebellion or loneliness, or some misguided attempt to replace David with Alex. I dated other people. Went on apps. Tried to feel for someone else what I felt for Alex. It didn't work. Every date felt wrong. Every conversation felt shallow. Every man I met was measured against someone who'd known me at my most vulnerable and still saw me as extraordinary. Someone who'd walked away because it was the right thing to do, even when it hurt him. I was in love with Alex. Really, truly in love with him. Not transference, not projection. Real love. The kind that made me want to be braver, better, more honest. The kind that felt like coming home. So I did something crazy. I showed up at his office. No appointment. No warning. Just walked in and told his assistant I needed to see Dr. Chen urgently. She said he was with a patient. I said I'd wait. She looked uncomfortable but let me sit in the waiting room. 45 minutes later, Alex walked a patient out, saw me sitting there. His face went through a dozen emotions in seconds. Surprise, confusion, concern, and something else. Something that looked like hope. Olivia? What are you doing here? Is everything okay? Can we talk? Privately? He hesitated, then nodded. Let me just tell Christine I need 15 minutes. We went to his office. The space that had held so many hours of conversation, so many revelations, so many almost moments. He closed the door, didn't sit behind his desk, just stood there looking at me, waiting. "I filed for divorce," I said. "Official papers. It's happening. David and I both agree it's right. We're splitting everything amicably. It'll be final in 6 months. And I needed you to know. I needed you to know that my marriage is over. Not because of you, because of me. Because I finally chose myself. Olivia, let me finish, please. I've been thinking about this for months. About what you said. About what I feel. About whether this is real or just some fantasy. And I know it's real, Alex. I know because I tried to move on, tried to date other people, tried to convince myself this was just a crush or transference or whatever. But it's not. It's real. You're real. And what I feel for you is the most real thing I've felt in years. You're still technically married, and I was still your therapist. The ethics will be clear in 6 months, when my divorce is final, when enough time has passed, when we're just two people who met under complicated circumstances but care about each other. He looked torn, conflicted. So I kept going. I'm not asking you to start a relationship today. I'm not asking you to compromise your ethics or your career. I'm just asking you to wait 6 months, and when my divorce is final, when the ethics are clear, give us a chance, a real chance. No therapy, no marriage, just us. What if you change your mind? What if you realize this was just an escape from an unhappy marriage? Then I'll deal with that. But Alex, I don't think I will. Because the way I feel about you isn't about escaping David. It's about finding someone who sees me, really sees me, who makes me want to be better, who challenges me and supports me and makes me feel alive. That's not rebound, that's real. Alex removed his glasses. A gesture I'd come to recognize meant he was processing something difficult. Olivia, if I do this, if I wait for you, if I let myself hope this could work, I need you to understand what you're asking. I've never crossed this line before. Never gotten involved with a former patient. Never even considered it. This goes against everything I was taught. Everything I believe about professional boundaries. I know. And I wouldn't ask if I didn't think what we have was worth it. But I do think it's worth it. I think we're worth it. 6 months, he said quietly. 6 months until your divorce is final. No contact during that time. We can't see each other, talk, text, nothing. Because if we do, and it becomes a relationship before your divorce is final, it compromises everything. 6 months, I agreed. No contact. And then, if you still feel this way, if you haven't changed your mind, call me, and we'll see. Promise me you won't start dating someone else in those 6 months. Promise me you'll wait too. A small smile crossed his face, the first real smile I'd seen from him in months. Olivia, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since the day you walked into my office. I'm not interested in anyone else. I'll wait. Those 6 months were the longest of my life. Longer than my entire marriage. Longer than anything I'd experienced. I threw myself into work, redecorated the house, started painting again, something I'd abandoned years ago. Spent time with Maya, who was thrilled about the divorce and suspicious about my sudden good mood. You're glowing, she said. Why are you glowing during a divorce? I'm just happy, I told her. Happy about starting over, about choosing myself. It wasn't a lie. I was happy, but it was incomplete. Because every day I didn't see Alex, didn't hear his voice, didn't get to talk to him, felt like holding my breath. Waiting. Anticipating. Hoping I wasn't imagining what we had. I went to therapy with a new therapist, a woman named Dr. Sarah Lynn who was warm and insightful, and helped me process the end of my marriage without judgment. "Are you leaving your husband for someone else?" she asked during our third session. "I'm leaving my husband because our marriage was over," I said honestly. "But yes, there's someone else I have feelings for. Someone I can't pursue until the divorce is final." "How do you feel about that?" "Hopeful. Terrified. Excited. Like I'm finally choosing something for myself instead of just accepting what's expected." "That's healthy," she said, "as long as you're making the choice for you, not just to be with someone else." "I am. I really am." The divorce proceedings were surprisingly smooth. David and I had no kids, no major assets to fight over. We split everything down the middle, agreed on terms. We're almost friendly by the end. Before we signed the final papers, he looked at me. "Are you happy, Liv?" "I'm getting there," I said honestly. "Good. You deserve to be. I'm sorry I couldn't give you what you needed. I'm sorry I couldn't give you what you needed either. But we'll both find it. With other people. In other places." He nodded, signed the papers, and just like that, 8 years ended. Not with drama or tears, just with mutual acknowledgement that we tried and it didn't work, and that was okay. The day my divorce became final, I waited until evening. Made myself dinner, took a long shower, put on something nice but casual, and then I called the number I'd memorized but hadn't used in 6 months. My hands were shaking as the phone rang. He answered on the second ring. "Hello?" "Alex, it's Olivia. My divorce was finalized today." Silence. Then, "I know. I've been watching the calendar. Waiting. Hoping you'd call." "Can I see you?" "Yes." "God, yes. Come over. I'll text you my address." 20 minutes later, I was standing outside his apartment. A nice building, 3rd floor. I knocked, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. He opened the door and there he was. Alex. Not Dr. Chen, not my therapist. Just Alex, looking at me like I was everything. "Hi," I said. "Hi," he said back. We stood there for a moment, 6 months of longing and waiting and hoping hanging between us, and then he reached for me, pulled me inside, closed the door, and kissed me. It was everything. Everything I'd imagined and more. Desperate and tender and full of 6 months of restraint finally breaking. His hands in my hair, my hands gripping his shirt. The kind of kiss that says I've wanted this forever. The kind that changes everything. When we finally pulled apart, both breathless, he pressed his forehead to mine. "I can't believe you're here. I can't believe this is real." "It's real," I whispered. "We're real." That night, we talked for hours. About the 6 months apart. About the divorce. About his struggle with the ethics of all this. About how he'd consulted with his own therapist and his professional board to make sure he was doing everything right. About how he'd never stopped thinking about me. I ended up staying the night. Nothing happened beyond kissing and talking and falling asleep in his arms, but waking up next to him felt more intimate than anything I'd experienced in my marriage. Because this was chosen. This was real. This was us. We took things slowly. Dated properly. Dinners, movies, walks in the park. Getting to know each other outside the therapy room. Learning about his life, his family, his dreams. Him learning about mine. Building something real and solid and honest. After 3 months of dating, Alex took me to meet his parents. They were lovely, welcoming. Didn't ask about how we met beyond Alex's vague. We knew each other through work. His mother pulled me aside at one point. "I've never seen him like this," she said. "So happy, so settled. Thank you for making him smile like that." "He makes me smile too," I told her honestly. 6 months into our relationship, I moved in with him. It felt right. Natural. Like we'd been building toward this all along. We fell into easy rhythms. Morning coffee together, him reading psychology journals while I worked on designs, weekend brunch, movie nights, the kind of comfortable intimacy that felt earned, not settled. Then one night, about 8 months into our relationship, Alex sat me down. Said he needed to tell me something important. Something he should have told me before but was afraid to. My heart sank. Was this it? Was he realizing this was a mistake? "Olivia," he started, looking nervous in a way I'd never seen him. "There's something about my past I haven't told you. Something about why I became a therapist, why I specialize in couples therapy." "Okay," I said carefully. "I was married once. Young marriage. We were both 25. She was incredible, beautiful, smart, funny. But we weren't right for each other. We tried for 3 years to make it work. Went to couples therapy. It didn't help. We got divorced when I was 28. And the experience, both the marriage and the therapy, made me want to help other couples, to be better than the therapist we had, to actually make a difference. I didn't know you were married before. I don't talk about it much. It's ancient history. Been over for almost 10 years. But Olivia, there's more." He took a breath. "My ex-wife. Her name is Diana. And she's been my friend. We stayed friends after the divorce, worked through things, built a new relationship as friends, and she's important to me, not romantically, but as a person I care about." "Okay," I said slowly, not sure where this was going. "She's getting remarried, in 2 months, to a great guy. They're really happy. And she wants me at the wedding. She wants you to come too. She wants to meet you. Because you're important to me, and she knows that." "Your ex-wife wants to meet me?" "Yes. I know it's weird. I know it's a lot to ask. But Diana is family to me now. Not romantic family. Just someone I love platonically who I want in my life. And if you and I are building a future together, I need you to be okay with that. If you're not, I understand. But I needed to be honest. I processed this. My boyfriend's ex-wife wanted to meet me, wanted me at her wedding. They were still friends. It was unconventional, strange, but also, somehow, beautiful. That 2 people could end a marriage and still care about each other, still support each other's happiness. "I want to meet her," I said. "I want to go to the wedding. If she's important to you, then she's important to me." Alex looked relieved, grateful. "Thank you. Thank you for understanding." The wedding was beautiful. Diana was stunning, warm and kind and everything Alex had described. She hugged me when we met. "I'm so glad you're here," she said. "Alex talks about you constantly. You make him so happy. He makes me happy too." "You know," Diana said as we sat at the reception, watching her new husband dance with his mother. "I knew when our marriage was ending that Alex needed someone who could really see him, who could match his emotional depth. I wasn't that person. We loved each other, but we weren't right. I'm so glad he found you. That he found someone who gets him. I'm glad I found him too." Later that night, dancing with Alex at his ex-wife's wedding, a thought occurred to me. This should be weird. This situation should be complicated and awkward. But it wasn't. It was perfect, because it was based on honesty and respect, and people choosing to love each other in whatever form that love could take. "I'm in love with you," I said suddenly, looking up at Alex. "I'm in love with you too," he said, pulling me closer. "Have been since the day you walked into my office and asked if you could call me Alex. That was months into therapy. I know, completely inappropriate, completely unethical, completely real." A year later, Alex proposed. Not at a restaurant or on a beach. Just at home, on a random Tuesday night, while we were making dinner together. He got down on one knee right there in the kitchen and said, "Olivia, You are the best decision I almost didn't make. The most unethical thought I ever had. The person who makes me want to be better every day. Will you marry me? I said yes through tears and laughter. Of course I said yes. We got married 6 months later. Small ceremony, close friends and family. Maya was my maid of honor, and Diana came too, with her husband. Because of course she did. Because this is what love looks like when you do it right. When you're honest and brave and willing to let go of rules that don't serve you. Looking back now, 2 years into marriage, I sometimes think about that first therapy session. About sitting on that couch next to David, both of us trying to save something that was already gone. About meeting Alex and feeling seen for the first time in years. About the impossible situation that led to the most real love I've ever known. People ask me sometimes if I feel guilty. If I think what Alex and I did was wrong. Falling for each other while he was my therapist. Building a relationship from that foundation. Breaking the rules. And honestly, no. Because the rules exist to protect people. To prevent harm. But nobody was harmed here. David found happiness with someone else. Met a woman through work. They're engaged now. Living the life he actually wanted, not the life we'd built out of high school dreams. Alex and I found each other in the messiest, most complicated way possible. But we did it ethically. We waited. We made sure I was divorced and enough time had passed and all the rules were followed. And what we built is real. True. The kind of love that makes you believe in fate and second chances, and the idea that sometimes the universe puts you exactly where you're supposed to be, even if it seems impossible at the time. My name is Olivia. I'm 33 years old. I fell in love with my therapist, and it was the best mistake I almost didn't make. Because sometimes the thing that seems most impossible is actually the thing that saves you. Sometimes breaking the rules is actually following your heart. And sometimes the person who helps you understand yourself becomes the person you're meant to spend your life with. And we lived happily ever after. Not because it was easy, but because it was real. And real love is always worth the wait. So there it is. My story. The most complicated, unethical, impossible love story that somehow worked out. If this story touched you, if it made you believe that sometimes breaking the rules leads to the right path, please hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that happiness can come from the most unexpected places. And subscribe for more real stories about love, second chances, and choosing yourself even when it's scary. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever had feelings for someone you weren't supposed to? How did you handle it? I read every comment, and I'd love to hear your story too. Thank you for listening to mine without judgment. Thank you for being here.